Good evening and welcome to FTN News Tonight. I'm Great Jakers 1113, reporting tonight from FTN News World Headquarters in New York. We begin tonight with the latest on the impeachment of the Vice President. The Supreme Court has issued another stay order on the impeachment proceedings less than 24 hours after the initial stay order was lifted. The Vice President has been impeached on two counts, those being severe inactivity and manslaughter. Our very own likable Dalton has more details. Dalton?
Yep. This is reporter Dalton with FTN. We got some breaking news here at the Capitol about the impeachment trial of the Vice President. The Supreme Court just granted another stay on the impeachment trial. They're reviewing, they're reviewing Article 1 of the impeachment, which the Chief Justice said the court has granted a stay impeachment while we address Articles 1 and 2 of the impeachment. Justices Stixa and Daniel Powell voted to not grant the stay after any time review has been granted, but they just did a stay. So, that means that the Senate will not continue its trial tonight as expected, but we will keep y'all updated on all the details. Reporter Dalton, FTN, going back to the studio.
Thank you for that. Mr. Dalton. Let's look closely at the second article, which charges the Vice President with manslaughter. As you may recall, on Monday, the Vice President... Sorry, my chair is creaking. As you may recall, on Monday, the Vice President was due to resign, but withdrew his resignation moments before it was to take effect, which resulted in mass confusion on the Senate floor, where Xavier Jost was due to be sworn in as the next Vice President of the United States. Amidst this confusion, Vice President Robbie drew a gun and fired on those inside, resulting in a tense gunfight. We will now show video of that incident, courtesy of North Carolina law and our very own John of Doom. We warn you that some of that footage may be considered disturbing. Viewer discretion, of course, is advised.
Next to the chat,
Oh,
you see that button?
I got a Glock now.
Yeah,
Who
we
wants to
probably shouldn't have
die?
told him
Who would
that.
like to die?
Should the Vice President? Oh God!
Which
Oh
one?
God! There's shit.
As you can see, some very graphic footage from the Capitol of a very violent gunfight. Yeah, very tense moments inside the Capitol. Indeed, after when Robbie went on the Secret Service team, drew a weapon, and opened fire on the crowd, killing multiple people. We're now going to take a quick break. FTN News Tonight will return in a moment. Welcome back to FTN News Tonight. I'm Great Jakers 1113, reporting from our FTN News World Headquarters in New York. The Department of Justice recently unveiled a complaint against Washington, D.C.'s Municipal Police Department. Our very own Parker Jackson has the late details. Parker joins us live in the studio now.
Tonight, the United States has initiated a civil action against the Department of Columbia's Metropolitan Police Department, alleging a police misconduct. The complaint filed in federal court today outlines various grievances and seeks equitable relief to rectify the alleged violation. Let's break down the facts. The claim centers around the MPD patrol officer Layla_2000 when on or about the day of April 14th, 2024, extra copyright, a citizen of the United States, arrived at the Metropolitan Police Department building with two individuals occupying a yellow convertible car, driving parallel to them and opening fire on Copyright. And Copyright then exited that vehicle where they were in and entered into the Metropolitan Police Department building. As he hurried inside, he encountered the officer in question, Layla_2001, and at the time, Layla was on duty and in uniform. Layla neglected the gunfire outside of the station, but rather focused on arresting extra copyright for a crime unknowing to him. FTN News did reach out to a member of the DC legal team, Peter Kuto, asking about the investigation into the officer in question. He responded by saying, "At all times relevant to the acts alleged in the complaint, the duties and functions of the defendant entailed reasonable exercise of proper and lawful discretion. Therefore, the officer is completely innocent. Therefore, emphasizing that the officer was not disciplined for her actions." One of the things that was mainly outlined in this story was the Fourth Amendment rights to extra copyright. Basically, he entered into the building, and Layla, the officer inside, automatically suspected him of a crime, arresting him without any further evidence. I want to mention also a few days after the DOJ launched its complaint into MPD, they responded by criticizing the federal government for spending weeks searching for reasons to sue, ultimately choosing a trivial matter easily resolved through internal affairs. The allegations of government corruption and selective enforcement are leveled, citing failures to investigate serious crimes. That's a statement from the MPD that they released very soon after. And Jakers, it's really important to note that for years now, the DC Metropolitan Police Department and all law enforcement agencies have been under scrutiny for training practices within their departments. In 2022, while I was working at Fox News, we exclusively reported that law enforcement agencies in our country and found that 90% of the trainings were conducted in the Future Tops shooting range. The only qualification to be able to become an officer was to be able to shoot as many people within a certain time. So it's a very interesting fact to take into, especially with the DOJ now looking into more corruption within these law enforcement agencies. Back to you, Jakers. Tonight, the United States has initiated a civil action against the Department of Columbia.
Thank you for that, Parker. Apologies for the little technical difficulty at the end where the video restarted. Anyways, the director of the Secret Service resigned last night. We have more details after the break. Welcome back to FTN News Tonight. We have more news for you now. The Secret Service Director has resigned last night. In his resignation announcement, he said the following: "It is with great sadness that I, effective at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time, submit my resignation as Director of the Secret Service. After attempting to reason with the Secretary of Homeland Security for weeks on end, nothing valuable was accomplished, and it's like talking to a brick wall. I refuse to work on someone who fails to consider the opinions of the leaders of each agency within the department, and I hope to put out a more in-depth document soon diving into the details, but I know that I fought my hardest for change. However, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, White House Chief of Staff, and President had no interest in the Secret Service, one of the most active agencies within the federal government. It truly shows where the priorities lie in this administration, but nonetheless, I wish them nothing but the best. I hope they find a suitable candidate to replace me. preferably not an old friend they owe a favor. And finally, a U.S. delegation visited the Kremlin today. This comes as the president partakes in an effort to establish a new international community with news at the forefront. The project is expected to be announced in a few days' time. That's all we have here. That's all we have here for news tonight. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for later tonight as we bring you the AMHL draft. From all of us at FTN News. Good night.